Every time we hear the news of a large fraud that has been perpetuated in an organization, the first thing that comes to our mind is, can this be happening to us? The point is that it is only the largest and the most high profile frauds that get reported in the media. It does not mean that the smaller ones are not taking place. The recent surveys and studies show that as much as 7% of your top line of your business is at risk due to being lost due to fraud. And if there's one single harm and the biggest damage that coronavirus has done to the corporate sector, it is that it has provided a fresh breeding ground for fraud risks, new risks, and risks that are completely unprecedented that we could not have thought of in the years leading up to coronavirus. So what is it that you need to be doing in your organization to manage this big risk, this big threat of this beast called fraud? Here are 4 things that we would suggest to you. The first is prevention. As they say, prevention is better than cure. So what is it that you need to do to be able to prevent fraud from taking place in your organization? The first thing is to set up a very strong and robust fraud risk management framework. This means that you need to go beyond the traditional enterprise-wide risk management framework into looking at risks and looking at controls that are more preventive in nature than being detective in nature. The second element is to ensure that your policies and the framework that you have within your organization is built in a way in which it provides you with a strong defense to fraud. The second element is prediction. How do you predict fraud? This is one of the most difficult things to predict. What you can certainly do is to set very clear targets and forecasts and monitor deviations vis-a-vis those targets and forecasts. And here I'm just focusing on financial projections and forecasts. Then you need to set up clear measurements in terms of gauging the effectiveness of your internal control structure. You must be able to monitor the effectiveness of your internal control structure to be able to give you a sense as to whether your organization is at risk to fraud and what is the nature and extent of the risk that your organization has assumed. So these are 2 techniques that help you in terms of predicting fraud. The third one is detection. The detection of fraud can happen from different sources. It can come from your whistleblower policy framework, it can come from your internal tips, it can come from external tip-offs, it can also come from your internal audits. So you need to make sure that your whistleblower policy framework is strong, is robust, and that you're taking due cognizance of what is being reported and you're doing a speedy analysis and assessment to act on what is being conveyed by the whistleblower. You need to re-engineer your internal audit focus into the detection of seemingly innocuous documentation and incidents that provide red flags to fraud. You need to act very quickly on tip-offs and not simply assume that these are not bona fide. The fourth element is to actually take action on fraud. The action that you must take on fraud is to address the root cause. And the root cause could lie anywhere in your organization. What is an organization today? An organization is the sum total of your people, your processes, your technology, your infrastructure, your policies. You must be able to correlate the root cause of any detected fraud, of any fraud that has been detected, to one or more elements of your system and ensure that these elements of your system are robust enough to be able to accommodate modifications, to be able to have revisions of the current framework implemented in a way in which your organization is better geared up with a stronger defense system for fraud. To summarize, what are the 4 important elements that you must take account of? Number 1 is prevention. Number 2 is prediction. Number 3 is detection. And the fourth one is action.